But now, since you have asked HaWah, the Most High, to reveal to you the explanation of the vision which you have seen, I have been sent to say to you that HaWah, the Mighty One, has let you know the course of times, namely those which have passed and those which in his world will come to pass from the beginning of his creation until the end, the times which are known by deceit and by truth. For as you saw a great cloud which came up from the sea and went and covered the earth, this is the length of the world which HaWah, the Mighty One, has created, which he took counsel in order to create the world. Halal HaWah. This is the length of the world which HaWah, the Mighty One, has created, when he took counsel in order to create the world. Now, in order to understand that, you're going to have to go to Proverbs 2. You're going to have to dig on Mama, who was there from the very beginning of creation, right? Who HaWah takes pleasure and delight in her presence, always. And it happened again when the word had gone out from him that the length of the world was standing as something small, and it was established in accordance with the abundance of the intelligence of him who let it go forth. As you first saw the black waters on the top of the cloud, which first came down upon the earth, this is the transgression which Adam, the first man, committed. For when he transgressed, ultimately, untimely, death came into being. So in the code, there is no death. We make this covenant with death, man. We're in the book of 2nd Baruch, chapter 56. I dropped a link in the drop chatter, so you can go pull up this link right here at 432thedrop.com. Password is 1234 to get through the door. Halal HaWah. As you first saw the black waters in the verse 5, on the top of the cloud which first came down upon the earth. This is the transgression which Adam, the first man, committed. For when he transgressed, untimely death came into being. Mourning was mentioned, affliction was prepared, illness was created. All this plague, right? All this disease, right? Only came about out of cold. It did not exist in cold. Labor accomplished, pride began to come into existence. So now you're in labor, literally put to labor. Pride became into existence. The realm of death began to ask to be renewed with blood. The conception of children came about. The passion of the parents was produced. The loftiness of men was humiliated, and goodness vanished. Verse 7. What could therefore have been blacker and darker than these things? This is the beginning of the black waters which you have seen. And from these black waters again black were born. And very darkness originated. So let's be clear. We ain't just talking about some, primordial, blackness, some type of womb and metaphysical womb. Now we're talking about specific, something that's created out of transgression, which is chaos. You see how thought works? He makes it sound good on every level, right? But it's always inverted. I'm in 2nd Baruch 56. Rock with me. This is the beginning of the black waters which you have seen. These specific black waters, Managa, go back. Verse 6, for when he transgressed, untimely death came into being. Verse 5, as you first saw the black waters on top of the cloud, which first came down upon the earth, this is the transgression which Adam, the first man, committed. So in this story, the context, the black water represents transgression from the first man. Verse 8, this is the beginning of the black waters which you have seen, and from these black waters again, black were born. And what they call you today, right? They say you're cursed, you're black. You know the definition of black? Darkness, right? Wicked. We're talking English, Khan. We're talking English, not what you have made it to be. We're talking their meaning. We're talking their, this is the intention, Manak, of Hijack City. This is the intention they put when they have you speaking in their vibration. Very dark darkness originated. Verse 10, for he who was a danger to himself was also a danger to the Malachim. Malachim are the high orders of angels, or we can say the Dracons. For they possess freedom in that time in which they were created. And some of them came down and mingled themselves with women. At that time, they who acted like this were tormented in chains. But the rest of the multitude of Malachim, who have no number, restrain themselves. And those living on earth perish together through the waters of the flood. We're talking dragons. Yeah. So you got dragons, Malachim, on both sides of the frequency war. Verse 12, some of them came down, mingled themselves, right? Dragons could take many forms, including human form. So, for a while you're, hearing about angels with these women, but, these angels, these dracons, can transform into just a human form. So these dragons were tormented in chains. But the rest of the multitude of dracons, who have no number, restrained themselves, and those living on earth perished together through the waters of the flood. Those are the first black waters. You see, when I put dragon in it, the story just comes to life, because of Malachim, you can't even visualize. But doing the recon and having the understanding that we're not talking about a man with wings, man. You're talking about the fiery ones. You dig? Those are the first black waters. Those living on earth perished together through the waters of the flood. And then perishing in the water, this darkness that had to mingle with the pure water became known as the first black water. Let's go. And after these, you saw the bright waters, that the fountain of Abraham and his generation, and the coming of his son, and the son of his son, and of those who are like them. Drop Nation, where you at? For at that time the unwritten Torah was in force among them. They were KTC in their heartbone, unwritten, and the works of the commandments were accomplished at that time. They were KTC. And the belief in the coming judgment was brought about, and the hope of the world, which will be renewed, was built at that time. And the promise of the life that will come later was planted. Those are the bright waters which you have seen. And the third black waters you have seen, that is the mingling of all sins which the nations committed afterward, after the death of those righteous men, and the wickedness of the land of Egypt, in which they acted wickedly in the oppression with which they oppressed their sons. But also these perished at the end. Managa, we talking about the end, right? Yeah, man. We're talking about the priestly ones, man. The high priests, the khans. Hey, shalom to all the khans, man. The high priests belong to the Hebrew priest families that trace their paternal line to Aaron, the first high priest of Israel in the Hebrew Bible, and elder brother of Moshe through Zadok, a leading priest at the time of Dawid and Solomon. The tradition comes to an end in the 2nd century BCE during the rule of the Hasmoneans, when the position was occupied by other priest families unrelated to Zadok. We're going to have to dig on this Hasmonean, man, because it seems like someone took the Khan. And knowing that David was pushed back so far by Scaliger and Batavius, just get you thinking about this Hasmonean situation being, another duplication of this Genghis Khan takeover, man. But that's what they call it back then, right? Yeah, Manak, we just talking about the vestments. Blue, purple, red, white linen, gold thread. The Torah provides for specific vestments to be worn by the priests when they are ministering in the tabernacle, and you shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother, for dignity and for beauty. We're talking something beautiful. Yapa, yapa. Imagine our fence. Imagine Joy World. Blue, purple, red, white linen, gold thread. These garments are described in detail. Exodus 28, Exodus 39, Leviticus 8. We're going to get 39 before we get out of here. The high priest wore 8 holy garments. Of these, 4 were of the same type worn by all priests, and 4 were unique to the Kohen Gadol. Those vestments which were common to all priests. All right, priestly garments. You got your breeches, linen pants, reach from the waist to the knees to cover the nakedness. You had the tunic. So you got the undergarments, you got the tunic made of pure linen, covering the entire body from neck to feet, with sleeves reaching from the wrist. That of the high priest was embroidered. Those of the priest were plain. So the high priest had embroidery. And when you dig on it, they're talking about being embroidered by the cherubim and the angels. And we're saying, do you mean that they had dragons embroidered on them? Yeah, you got to connect this with the Mongol dynasties, right? Dragons, yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's a lot easier to understand when you connect the Mongol history. The Presta flow. The Moshe turning his staff into a dragon flow. Nehemiah riding on the dragon, Nehemiah 2. Let's go. Psalms 18, fire out of his mouth, smoke out of his nose. We're talking about the garments, priestly sash. That of the high priest was of the fine linen with embroidered work or dragons on it, and blue, purple, red, scarlet red. Let's go. Those worn by the priests were of white, twined linen. Priestly turban, that of the high priest, was much larger than that of the priests, and wood or wound so that, or worn so that it formed a broad, flat-top turban, that the priest was wound so that it formed a cone-shaped turban. I think it's saying worn, but Wikipedia, man. So the priestly robe, now these are the vestments that were unique to the Hakan, high priest. The priestly robe of the ephod, a sleeveless blue robe, the lower hem of which was fringed with gold or small golden bells, alternating with pomegranate shaped tassels in blue, purple, red, tekhelet, argamon, solot, shani. All right, then you got the F5, the breastplate, all right, the golden plate, HaWah. All right, I mean, look, man, pomegranate plays heavy, right? When you start digging on pomegranata, and what's Hebrew for pomegranate? Oh, yeah, rimon. A rimon is pomegranate, man, in the Hebrew. So the Roman, they're just trying to claim the promised land, because the promised land has everything to do with the pomegranate. Joshua, Caleb, come on. So you see how they just stole the title. That's why we can't give it back. They're not the Romani. They're not the Roman. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get that they took the title, but it also lets you know that the original Roman or the Roman are you. Pomegranate Naga, pomegranata, pomegranata. You are the pomegranate, my Naga. The pomegranate tassels in blue, purple, red. Priestly robe of the F5. Where have we seen the F5 before? Y'all remember Hosea 3? Yeah, we ain't gonna let you forget Hosea 3. Let me get my Tanakh JPS, man. Where we at? Let's go. We ain't gonna let you forget, man, because the Christians wouldn't let you forget that this was talking about JC. So we're not gonna let you forget because it's talking about Dawid. When we talk Dawid, we're talking about Prince forever. We're talking about Khan forever. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to this particular plane, this vortex, this here, you know what I'm saying? Who's leading the charge, my nigga, on the neck bone of Hijack City? You know what I'm saying? We're talking about Khan, David, Preston, John. And it goes hand in hand with all the angels, whether you're talking Uriel, whether you're talking, Mikael, or Gabriel, the right Gabriel, because they flipped him, they got a duplicate Gabriel, just like a duplicate Enoch, you know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying, all this is working in coordination, in flow, in order, you know what I'm saying? It's all one thing, But we know that we don't have a script telling us to wake up, that Israel's going to wake up and seek the Creator and Gabriel. We don't have a script saying that Israel, the children of Israel, you know what I'm saying, are going to return, right? Because Israel returns. The children of Israel first sit solitary many days without a king, without a prince, right? Sacrifice pillar without ephod. We're talking the ephod. We're talking the priestly robe, the blue robe, the pomegranate tassels, the blue, the purple, the scarlet, right? The blue, purple, red, the ephod. So when we're talking about Hosea 3, we're talking about things that have to do with your priesthood. The Khan means priest. When the Khan was taken, so is everything else, my lord. Afterward, the children will return. So you don't have another script saying you're going to seek the Creator, Lord their God, right? And Ezekiel and Elijah, and these are all major honor, high valued, prophets, and what I'm saying, high value Hakans, what I'm saying, priest kings, priestess. Shout out to my priest queens, what I'm saying? I mean, but we don't have a script saying we're going to wake up and search for the Creator and Michael and Uriah, what I'm saying? No matter what position they hold on whatever etheric realm they got, working in coordination. But the children of Israel, since we are in this together, this is what the charge is. And this is the same charge repeated, whether you're talking Jeremiah, chapter 30. Like, you don't just get it one place. So we're not left to take anything out of context here. You're not just getting it in one place. Jeremiah 30, verse 9. Yeah, man, and strangers shall no more make them their bondman. You ain't gonna be a slave no more. And then what? But they shall serve HaWah, okay, and David their king, whom I will raise up. You don't have a script saying HaWah's gonna raise up one of the other angels, no matter what title they hold in the realm they hold it in, and no matter what position they got of protection over the tribe. You know what I'm saying? We are the apple of our Creator's eye. We got many, you know what I'm saying, Hakan, high priest. We got many, angels, many dracons, what I'm saying, that watch over the tribe, because that's their order. It's in coordination. But what you need to know, my Naga, is that you will serve the Creator and David. I can't make this up. You want to argue with HaWah? Because you want to put somebody else? You want to insert somebody else in Jeremiah 30? Whom I will raise up? That's future talk. That's not past talk. So you could talk past talk. I'll stay here talking future talk. And I'll stay talking David, because over and over again it's repeated. Blue, purple, red. We're talking priest Khan. The Khan. The anointed Khan. Prince forever Khan. Khan. Repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. We got the stick of Ephraim. We got Judah coming together, one stick. And my servant David shall be king over them. And they shall have one shepherd. To make it as less confusing as possible, the Creator gave us one shepherd. Whether or not any entity, energy has whatever position to protect Israel on any level, as far as Israel is concerned, they have one shepherd. No confusion. It's not confusing. My servant David. You can't throw out plain script that's repeating the flow to let you know that when you search for the Creator, after you've been solitary all these days, right? You ain't got no F5, you ain't got no king, no Khan. But afterwards, the children will return. This is you. This is you now. This is you today returning your KTC. You return to the code. That's how you return to HaWah. And this gets you in the flow to see King David, the Preston, the Khan, who is what? Forever. I can't make it up because it's right in your face bone. And David, my servant, shall be their prince forever. So what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? You got another prince. What do you mean you got another Khan? Who did HaWah tell you will be your Khan forever? Not who holds, whatever position on whatever level, etheric realm, whatever position of protection, whatever titles we're translating as, this and that. Anointed versus Mashiach versus, you know what I'm saying? My servant Dawi is forever prince, man. That's why he's being raised up again. That's why he's popping back up on the scene. David, the king, whom I will raise up. That's why, Managi, in Hosea 3, you're searching for HaWah and King Dawi. Blue, purple, red, white linen, gold thread. Blue, purple, red, mixture of colors. In previous sections, we have studied the correlation between various colors and various blue subjects or Bible subjects. Sometimes we see colors mixed together in the scriptures to give us a portrait of various things. The most common mixtures are of gold, blue, purple, red, white linen, gold thread, right? Some things that contain these mixtures are the garments of the high priest, the covering of the tabernacle, the veil of the tabernacle and temple, the door of the temple, and the gate of the courtyard to the tabernacle. And that's why we want to honor our fence and joy world with the same colors to send that signal out, man, to send that frequency out that we back to claim what's ours, that they can't make it no flag for the bisexual community or the flag for the homosexual community. The rainbow represents the covenant, and the blue, purple, red, and white linen gold thread, that's the tabernacle flow. That's the Khan flow. Amen. Joy world, look out for us. All praise HaWah. We'll examine these things in a few essays. All right. While many people are aware of the veil between the holy place and the most holy place in the tabernacle and in the temple, yet there is a hanging in the entrance in the holy place. This is described in Exodus 26, verse 36, and chapter 27. And thou shalt make a hanging for the door of the tent of blue, purple, red, and fine white linen, wrought with needlework, and thou shalt make for the hanging 5 pillars of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, and their hooks shall be of gold, and thou shalt cast 5 sockets of brass for them. While the way into the holiest of all was restricted to allow for entrance of the high priest only, at the door into the holy place allowed for both the high priest and the priest to enter and worship and serve in the holy place. And that blue, that purple, and that red, repeated over and over. Again, love to the family, Kevin Cologne. And shout out to Mr. MBB333. He's been doing it a long time. We've been surfing away with Mr. MBB a long time, man. Shout out to him. And, hey, let's get some drop, man. He's talking about a termination event. We might want to listen to it if we're talking end of days type of talk, because after you return Israel, right? You seek the Creator and David, the Khan, and shall come trembling unto HaWah, unto his goodness. HaWah's goodness has been waiting for you in the end of days. The end of days, the end of days, termination. That's our type of talk. We're talking end of days. Let's get a piece of this. Love again to the bro Kevin Cologne. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hope everybody's doing well and having a great day. I haven't done a video like this in quite a while. I'm away from home right now, but I wanted to put this up because I feel that it's important one of the things that we do here is monitor the sun. We have for years, and follow solar flares and CMEs and things like that. The sun is a big part of our lives, and it's getting ready to go through some changes. You just saw a large, very fast CME leap off of the sun. It wasn't necessarily a strong solar flare, but it was definitely fast. Watch it over here again. This is from...
And I want you to see this with a dragonfly perspective. You know, this ain't no gigantic, super gigantic ball of fire in a vacuum of an atmosphere-less space. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no fire. Show me an experiment where you could put a fireball in a vacuum with no oxygen. Show me fire with no oxygen. Show me fire with no oxygen, man. Oh, but this has, because it has the, come on, man. Second of all, the book of Enoch say the sun is 32 miles in diameter, and so is the moon. So they match in height. Hence the eclipses. It's all much closer and it's all happening. So what they're talking about, don't fall into the spell of some gigantic super fireball 96 million miles away. This thing's only a few thousand miles away. It's relatively small, 30 miles across. All right, so look, just surf the wave with a dragonfly. Perspective.
June 10th, 9th and 10th, and that thing came off of there, believe it or not, at a speed equivalent to a Carrington event of 1859. There's another one over here too that's so fast that it just about didn't pick it up. I mean, it came off of there right there, just furious speed. So anyway, what I want to talk about is this termination event that could become a reality, and it may very well be underway. I just want to read it to you guys, and that's going to be the entirety of this video. I'm here at spaceweather.com. Very good site, good source of information. And I want to talk about this termination event, okay? The sun's going through some changes, so we need to be acutely aware, as always, of our surroundings, but we need to pay close attention to the sun. It's called the termination event, and it says something big may be about to happen on the sun. We call it the termination event. It says Scott McIntosh, a solar physicist at the National Center for Atmospheric Research, and it's very, very close to happening. If you've never heard of the termination event, you're not alone. Many researchers have never heard of it either. It's a relatively new idea in solar physics, championed by McIntosh and colleague Bob Lehman of the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. According to the two scientists, vast bands of magnetism are drifting across the surface of the sun, once positive and once negative when they meet at the equator. That's the collision. But moving on with the article here, according to the two scientists, vast bands of magnetism are drifting across the surface of the sun. When oppositely charged bands collide at the equator, they annihilate or terminate. There's no explosion. There is magnetism, not antimatter. Nevertheless, the termination event is a big deal. It can kickstart the next solar cycle into higher gear, and that's what it's done in the past. Okay, and whenever there's a shorter time frame between termination events, then typically the next one is stronger, and that's the position that we're at. If the termination event happens soon, as we expect, new solar cycle 25 could have a magnitude that rivals the top few since record keeping began, says McIntosh. This is, to say it the least, controversial. Most solar physicists believe that solar cycle 25 will be weak, akin to the anemic solar cycle 24, which barely peaked back in 2012 and 2013. I remember that. Orthodox models of the sun's inner magnetic dynamo favor a weak cycle and do not even include the concept of terminators. What can I say? Laughs McIntosh. The researchers outlined their reasoning in a December 20th paper in the research journal Solar Physics. Looking back 270 years of sunspot data, they found that terminator events divide one solar cycle from the next, happening approximately every 11 years. Emphasis on approximately. The interval between terminators ranges from 10 to 15 years, and this is key to predicting the solar cycle. We found that the longer the time between terminators, the weaker the next cycle would be, explains Lehman. Conversely, the shorter the time between terminators, which is where we're at now, the stronger the next cycle would be. Example, cycle 4 began with the terminator in 1786 and ended with the terminator in 1801, and unprecedented 15 years later. The following cycle 5 was incredibly weak, with a peak amplitude of just 82 sunspots. That cycle would become known as the beginning of the Dalton Grand Minimum. Solar cycle 25 is shaping up to be the opposite. Instead of a long interval, it appears to be coming on the heels of a very short one, only 10 years since the terminator event that began solar cycle 24. Previous solar cycles with such short intervals have been among the strongest in recorded history. These ideas may be controversial, but they have a virtue that all scientists can appreciate. They're testable. If the termination event happens soon and solar cycle 25 skyrockets, they may be on to something. Stay tuned. And I believe they are on to something. I believe it is underway.
Blue, purple, red. Oppositely charged bands of magnetism. I know natural by law going cray right now. Because the bro, he sees it, man, you know what I'm saying, perfectly clear. You know what I mean? Get in the classroom, natural by law, hit up naturalbylaw.net. Hit him up on the Patreon, man. Bro's doing great work. Support. My noggin. Yeah, we're talking magnetism. We're talking cons, copper cons. We're definitely talking magnetism, right? So these opposite charges are meeting up, you know what I'm saying? Popping off some terminator of magnetism. Just keep that in mind, you know what I'm saying? Some magnetism is terminating something. Somebody's afraid of being terminated. Don't let them project their fears onto you. This is not about you, but it's about you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't being terminated, but this is about your come up. This is about your end of days. This is your Hosea 3 moment. It's all happening. It's all happening. Blue, purple. I can't make this up, man. Blue, purple, red, white linen. Gold thread. Let's go.
Right? Based off of what I've been seeing here, just observations and again, I don't claim to be the oracle of knowledge when it comes to all of this. I'm just a very long time observer that's taken notes along the way, and I've learned a lot over the years. But again, I don't claim to be the oracle of knowledge. Nobody does. Nobody knows what this thing is really, truly capable of doing. Think about it. This thing has been around much longer than any of us. 10 lifetimes.
And I mean, just look how they got that thing spinning. Look like, come on, man, dodge the hijack, man. We got to get through this, y'all. We got to get through this hijack. I mean, I wonder what she's saying right now. Probably I'm a hijack and I'm drinking hijack juice. You know what I'm saying? All right, look, man. You see how this thing is spinning? Come on, man. Do y'all believe this is the actual sun? Just spinning hella fast. Just spinning around. I mean, do they have any real images of the dark side of the sun, of the other side of the sun, of the back of the sun? Man, or we're just looking at a disc, a portal. Is the sun a portal? Who's being terminated?
So we don't know its full potential. I think, based off of what they just said, and these guys are solar physicists, and the observations that I'm looking at, and one of them being right now, that solar flare on the upper right-hand corner, right there, and then there's another one over here on the left-hand side. Those things came off of the sun like I said, at Carrington speed. The Carrington event of 1859, it was one of the most historic solar events to ever occur that impacted the Earth. And if that type of event would impact today's society, it could disrupt our power grids, and all of those things are a very real possibility. Um, Definitely satellite service would be interrupted, and phone service, and just our way of life in general. So it's something to pay close attention to. So I do believe that this is indeed the case. They're talking about this now based off of things that are occurring on the surface of the sun. And I've seen a lot of very fast, I'm talking in the range of 6 to 6.5 million mile per hour solar flare CMEs that are launching off of the sun that could reach the Earth in 15 hours. Keep in mind, a lot of CMEs take 2 or 3 days to reach the Earth. Those would have been here, and both of those, well, that one over there and that one over there, would have been here in 15 hours. That's unprecedented. So once again, we might be beginning what's known.
And just dodge the hijack with these numbers, man. I mean, I know he's doing his best of what he believes and what he's reading and all that stuff, but man, 6 billion mile per hour, this would have been here in 15 hours if the sun was 96 millions of miles away. So they're always putting it into the same formula, right? But if they said it's only a few thousand miles away, then you're being hit mighty fast if it's traveling at 6 million miles per hour, man. And who's clocking this stuff? Who's clocking this stuff, man? Who got the stopwatch, man? Are we just talking about dragons popping out this portal? Are we just talking dracons popping in and out the portal? I mean, what is this disk, man? What is this sun? I mean, if the moon is a plasma, certainly maybe the sun must be the same, right? Aren't they supposed to be twins, lesser light, greater light? Let's go.
It's known as a termination event. And you have positive and negative energy colliding at the equator. It creates a whole new dynamic with regard to solar output, and that can last for a few years. So it's something we need.
That's the drop. Let's get that last piece again for the dismount.
A lot of very fast, I'm talking in the range of 6 to 6.5 million mile per hour solar flare CMEs that are launching off of the sun that could reach the Earth in 15 hours. Keep in mind, a lot of CMEs take 2 or 3 days to reach the Earth. Those would have been here, and both of those, well, that one over there and that one over there, would have been here in 15 hours.
More like 15 seconds.
That's unprecedented. So once again, we might be beginning what's known as a termination event. When you have positive and negative energy colliding at the equator, it creates a whole new dynamic with regard to solar output, and that can last for a few years.
A whole new dynamic in regards to solar output, positive and negative energies. A collision of positive and negative energies creating a whole new level of magnetism that terminates somebody. That lasts for a few years. Okay. All right. All that in mind. All that in mind. Again, Exodus 39, and of the blue, purple, red, they made plaited garments for ministering in the holy place, and made the holy garments for Aaron, as HaWah commanded Moshe. And he made the ephod, gold, blue, purple, scarlet, and fine twined linen. And they did beat the gold into thin plates, cut it in threads to work it in the blue, in the purple, in the red, and in the fine linen, the work of the skillful workman. Yeah. Okay. Blue, purple, red. Blue, purple, red. Calm Fresh, what it do, man? I always think about Calm Fresh with Zechariah 12, because it's talking, I mean, we just heard about this magnetism, right? We just heard about this magnetism.
Would have been here in both of those. Well, that one over there and that one over there would have been here in 15 hours. That's unprecedented. So once again, we might be beginning what's known as a termination event. When you have positive and negative energy colliding at the equator, it creates a whole new dynamic with regard to solar output. And that can last for a few years. So it's something we need to pay close attention to.
We
the entirety
are paying close attention.
This video,
right?
I'm here at spaceweather.com.
And they Facebook, because they're talking about magnetism. Let's get it from up here. Something big may be about to happen on the sun. We call it the Termination event, says Scott McIntosh, a solar physicist at the National Center of Atmospheric Recon. If the Terminator event happens soon as we expect, new solar cycle 25 could have a magnitude that rivals the top few since record-keeping began. Oppositely charged bands of magnetism march towards the sun's equator, where they annihilate one another, kickstarting the next solar cycle. And when that red and that blue hits that purple charge up, does that purple magnetism, does that purple radiation, does that purple radiation, after you combine the blue and the red to get the purple, to get that crown chakra flow, does it terminate their ass when you reach your purple frequency? When you back in that 432, we talking magnetism. Oh man. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of staggering unto the people round about. Oh, that's how it's been, right? We've been staggering. No one knows, which way's up. Let's go. HaWah also shall save the tents of Judah first. So after you've been stumbling around in order, right? We're talking David again, right? We got Hosea 3, Jeremiah 30, Ezekiel 37. We're talking ThaWaDa, Zechariah 12, tents of Judah first. The glory of the house of David. The glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem have been magnified above Judah. Oh, we're talking magnetism, man. In that day shall HaWah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. HaWah will save Judah first, so that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem be not magnified above Judah. Order over confusion. In that day, shall HaWah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that stumbleth, because remember you were staggering, right? Weren't you just staggering around here? Behold, verse 2, I will make Jerusalem a cup of staggering. Come on, we in Zechariah 12, we were staggering, right? We were staggering. But you know what? He that stumbles, he that's still staggering among them in that day, in the end of days, my nigga. After you have returned, seek HaWah, your power, and David, your Khan. You came trembling KTC to HaWah. You got the goodness. You got the land back. You popping off in the end of days. You've been staggering. But in these end of days, among them in that day, That day, end of days, you search for HaWah, KHANductors, even the one that stumbles shall be as ThaWaDa. Even the one that's staggering shall be as David. And the house of David shall be as a God-like being. I can't make this up. What God-like being? What being saved David when he was in distress? Psalms 18, right? Smoke out of his nose, fire out of his mouth, and the house of David shall be as a God-like being. Will you have smoke out of your nose, fire out of your mouth, and the dragon of HaWah as the dragon of HaWah before them? Angel? Are we talking about a man with wings? A Malakim? Are we talking about a fire-breathing dragon? The same dragon that, comes out with fire out of his mouth and smoke out of his nose. Psalms 18. That's HaWah. HaWah like. Well, what's the likeness that was described in Psalms 18, my noggin, for the dismount? Because, hey, you popping off now. Yeah. You got your land back. My noggin's KTC. It's all happening. Hey, man, now we know that HaWah hears us because, like David, remember, we're going to be like David. Everybody want to be like David. In that day, the glory of the house of Jerusalem shall not be magnified above Judah. And he that stumbles shall be at that day shall be as David. And the house of David shall be as a God-like being, right? Like an angel, right? HaWah hears KHANductors. And when HaWah hears KHANductors, HaWah pops off. You know what I'm saying? At that point, it's all happening. I'm in Proverbs. Let's get to Psalms 18. I'm just popping off for the dismount. So David cries, I am saved from my enemies. My cry came before his ears. Then the earth did shake, right? Because he heard my voice. Smoke arose from his nostrils, fire out of his mouth. So when they say God-like, this is the only thing I can describe or compare it to, because I have no other likeness to compare it to in the entire Bible, my nigga. The entire Tanakh, my nigga. Where you have the Creator having ears and, nostrils, a mouth, feet. Now he's flying, just popping off. Thick darkness was under his feet. Fire out of his mouth did devour. I can't compare Zechariah 12 as a God-like being, angel of HaWah. We're talking seraph, fiery ones, burning ones, burning ones, burning ones. In the end of days, my nugget, you are popping off with HaWah and KHANductors. Yeah. Fire out of your mouth, smoke out of your nose, because if you're God-like and you're like God or like HaWah, well, HaWah popped off in battle time. This was one of the forms HaWah chose to take. He could have been a butterfly. He chose to be a dracon with fire out of his nostril, smoke out of his nostrils, fire out of his mouth. Yeah, man. And now you're God-like, right? The house of David is HaWah-like. The house of David got fire out of their mouth, devouring, my nugget. Yeah, man. Blue, purple, red. Blue, purple, red. Blue, purple, red. You back in the flow. Do you got the glow? Do you got the fire out of your mouth bone? House of David, you are HaWah like. House of David, you are like the highest angels. It shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all the nations that come against Jerusalem. And I will pour upon the house of David, upon the house of Jerusalem, the spirit of grace. We're talking end of days, supplication. HaWah is now hearing you, right? Like HaWah heard my voice. Now you got grace, now you got supplication, and they shall look unto me because they have thrust him through. And they shall mourn for him as one mourns for his only son. And shall be in bitterness for him as one is in bitterness for his firstborn. And in that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadad Rimmon in the valley of Megadon, and the land shall mourn, every family apart, the family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart, the family of the house of Levi, the house of the Shemites, the house and all the families that remain, in every family apart, and their wives apart. Because HaWah said, I will pour out upon the house of David, upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the spirit, that Ruach. You got that Ruach Tardema, the Ruach of grace and of supplication. And you'll look at HaWah. They shall look unto me because they have thrust him through. Who? Who, Mana? Who has been thrust through? Who has been sacrificed? Let's get this in the KJV. This is when you show translations. And they should look unto me whom they have pierced. The spirit of grace and supplications. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced. My noggin. Let's go back to the other translation. This 1917 Tanakh translation. That's why you got to compare, man. And they shall look unto me because they have thrust him through. This looks like they're saying somebody different, right? Thrust him through ain't the same as me here. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced. So it's HaWah that you have pierced. It's HaWah that you have thrust through by being out the code. And it's HaWah that you're mourning for. It's your Amma that you're mourning for. As one mourns for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. There's no closer relationship you can have with, than a parent and your child. And the bitterness you would have mourning for your child is the bitterness that you have mourning for the destruction, of the code. the firstborn, right? The code. Not until you feel the bitterness for being out of code does HaWah really know, that this ain't something that you're willing to repeat again. You don't know what you're protecting. But when you know what you've done, and being out the code, when you fully know what you're protecting, then you're back. Then we can come back together as one tribe, one vibe. Being out of code can't be something that you just brush off your shoulders. Being out of code is our deal. There's no other deal. That's our deal right there. HaWah didn't make no side deal. That's the deal. Be in code. Don't call no daddy daddy. Don't call no mama mama. You know what I'm saying? HaWah only. You don't have no other, power that can charge up the tribe, can magnetize the tribe, as we're reading about in Zechariah 12. When you get magnetized, even the feeble shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God. This is the KJV. As HaWah, the house of David shall be as HaWah. As HaWah, with smoke out of his nostrils and fire out of his mouth. As the angel of HaWah. Sodom and Gomorrah, burned down by two dragons. You want that dragon fire? Hey, you want your fire back, my noggin? You will be as HaWah, with smoke out of your nostrils and fire out your mouth. Yeah, man. Man, I also love the confresh. Second Baruch 51, man. These are ones I always remember fresh, dropping on the tribe. Because, we were just talking about this serious magnetism popping off, right?
With regard to solar output, and that can last for a few years.
Yeah.
A whole new dynamic.
A whole new dynamic.
With regard to solar output.
Yeah, it's popping off. What output? What output? I love to Mr. MBB333, man. Go hit him up, man, because you can definitely get the jewels for the dismount, man. What output? Second Baruch 51, and it will happen after this day, which I appointed is over, that both the shape of those who are found to be guilty, out the code, your shape, as also the splendor of those who have been proven to be righteous, you in the code. So you're guilty if you're out the code. You ain't KTC. Manaka, get KTC right now. You know what I'm saying? That's the best we can do. If you don't do nothing else, we never meet. Just remember, man, no power before your power. You know what I'm saying? And all the way down. Exodus 20 got us in code. Keep your Shabbat. No killing, no stealing. Let go. Guard your gates, man. No covetousness, man. Let's go. No false witnesses in the tribe, my nigga. Don't be found guilty. You want to be proved to be righteous. So the shape, after this day, which I appointed, is over. We're talking the end of days again, right? End of days. End of days. See Kawhi and David in the end of days. Let's go. End of days. The day that after this day I appointed is over. End of days, that both the shape of those that are guilty and the shape of those that are righteous will be changed. We're talking about solar output. We're talking about blue, purple, red, opposite charges, Terminator events. For the shape of those who now act wickedly out the code will be made more evil than it is now, so that they shall suffer torment. Just their appearance is going to torment them, man. And also as for the honor and the splendor of those who prove to be righteous, on account of my Torah, those who possess intelligence in their life, and those who planted the root of wisdom, Amah, in their heart, their honor and splendor then will be magnified by transformations, magnified by transformations, solar flares and radiation, my nigga. I said magnified by transformations, magnified by transformation.
Those would have been here, and both of those, well, that one over there and that one over there, would have been here in 15 hours. That's unprecedented. So once again, we might be beginning what's known as a termination event. When you have positive and negative energy colliding at the equator, it creates a whole new dynamic with regard to solar output. And that can last for a few years.
A few years of magnifying and transformations. For those that are in honor, your KTC, you're in splendor, you're being magnified. But to them, it might be a terminating event. Love the con fresco, man. You're being magnified by transformations, and the shape of their face will be changed into light. The honor, the splendor, the righteous, the face, your face, your face will be changed into light of their beauty, so that they may acquire and receive the undying world. Didn't we just say you ain't got to make no deal with death? That death is just popping out because of the transgression of the code, the breaking of the code. But an undying world is that which is promised to you, my naga, being changed, magnified, transformed into light, right? As HaWah, as these Drakan powers. Therefore, especially they who will then come, will be sad because they despise my Torah and stop their ears lest they hear wisdom. You don't want to hear it no more. You don't want to hear the drop no more. You want to tune the drop out. Are you despising the code? Because that's all we're talking about here at 432. We're talking about the code. Have you stopped your ears lest you hear the wisdom and receive the drop? Intelligence, my naga, to KTC, to CKHANductors, and khandrop. We're talking the end of days. We're talking magnetism and transformation. They're talking termination. The house of David shall be as HaWah. Fire out your mouth bone. Smoke out your nose bone. Coals flamed forth from him. He bowed the heavens also and came down, and thick darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub and did fly. Yeah, he did swoop down upon the wings of the wind. When they therefore will see that those over whom they are exalted now will then be more exalted and magnified. Their termination event is only going to be your magnification. Then both these and those will be changed, these into the honor and splendor of Malakim, and those into the startling visions and horrible shapes, and they will waste away even more, for they will first see, and then they will go away to be terminated. I mean, tormented, right? Tormented, for they will first see, and then they will go away to be tormented. Miracles, however, will appear at their own time to those who are saved. Saved by who? JC? Or by the Creator, because only the Creator can save you, like only the Creator saved we in my distress. In my distress, I called upon HaWah, not JC. David calls to the Creator directly. That's KTC. And so HaWah hears with his ears. And here comes the dragon form, smoke and fire. Miracles appear at their own time, not your time, their own time. To those who are saved, KTC, because of their works, and for whom the Torah is now a hope, intelligence, expectation, and wisdom, a trust. UKTC. For they shall see the world which is now invisible to them. Sound like a Prester John fairy tale, right? Nah, my not. You're talking about seeing clearly. Drakan. And they will see a time which is now hidden. Uh-oh. Will you find Prester John? Is he hiding in between the timeline? Verse 9. And time will no longer make them older. For they will live in the heights of the world, and they will be like the Malakim, like the Drakan, and be equal to the stars, right? Star with a tail. And they will be changed into any shape they wish. That's what a dragon do. That's what HaWah do in Psalm 18. He changes into any shape he wants, right? He comes with smoke and fire and, darkness under his feet, flying on the wings of the wind. That's the shape HaWah chose in battle form, and you can do the same because you will be what? The house of David shall be as HaWah, as the Drakan of HaWah before them. David as HaWah. Not just David. The whole entire tribe is saved by this smoke and fire. Not just David. The whole entire tribe is tribing up, right? Israel's returning to seek the Creator and David their Khan. The whole tribe is searching. The whole tribe is becoming as HaWah. But Judah first, because the scepter will never depart from Judah, which is why you seek the Creator and David, Khan of Khans, Khan of ThaWaDa. And they will be changed into any shape, my nigga. They wished, from beauty to loveliness, and from light to the splendor of honor. Halal HaWah, for the extents of kingdom paradise will be spread out for them, and to them will be shown the beauty of the majesty of the living beings under the throne, as well as all the hosts of the Malakim, those who are held by my word now, lest they show themselves, and those who are withheld by my command, so that they may stand at their places until the coming has arrived, and the excellence of the righteous will then be greater than that of the Malakim. Come on, man. Your excellence will even be greater than the to come. For the first will receive the last, those whom they expected, and the last those of whom they had heard that they had gone away. Uh-oh, they coming back? they popping back up? What did HaWah say? Jeremiah 30. We're just digging on the wave and the script. All praise HaWah for the Ruach, for the Ruach of Drop Nation, the Ruach of Amah, the wisdom, Halal HaWah. And it shall come to pass in that day. What day? End of days. Let's go. It says HaWah that I will break his yoke from off your neck bone and will burst your bands, and the strangers will no longer make slaves of you, but they shall serve HaWah. And David their king, whom I will raise up to them, whom I will raise up. So someone has to be raised up, my love. For the first will receive the last, those whom they expected, and the last, those whom they had heard that had gone away, who was Prester John. For they have been saved from this world of affliction and have put down the burden of anguishes, because of which men lost their lives. And for what have those who were on the earth exchanged their soul? Who'd they make deals with? Verse 16, for once they chose for themselves that time which cannot pass away, undying, my nugget, without afflictions. And those chose for themselves that time of which the end is full of lamentations and evils. And they have denied the world that does not make those who come to it older, fountain of youth. And they have rejected the time which causes splendor, so that they are not coming to the splendor of which I spoke to you before. And they have denied the world that does not make those who come to it older. They chose for themselves that time which cannot pass away. Are you choosing up? Are you popping off? Second Baruch 59 for the dismount. Remember we talked about the bright waters, right? And the fourth bright water, which you have seen, that is the coming of Moshe and of Aaron and of Miriam. Love to the lady dragons on the wall. And of Joshua, the son of Nun, and of Caleb, and of all those who are like these. For at that time the lamp of the eternal Torah, which lasts forever and ever, illuminated, and all those who sat in darkness, this lamp will announce to those who believe the promise of their reward, and to those who deny the punishment of the fire which is kept for them. But also the heaven will be shaken from its place at that time, that is, the heavens which are under the throne of HaWah, the mighty one, were severely shaken when he took Moshe with him. For he showed him many warnings together with the ways of the Torah and the end of time, as also to you, and then further also the likeness of Zion with its measurements, which was to be made after the likeness of the present sanctuary. But he also showed him at that time the measures of fire, the depth of the abyss, the weight of the winds, and the number of the raindrops, the suppression of wrath, the abundance of long suffering, the truth of judgment, the root of wisdom, the richness of understanding, the fountain of knowledge, the height of the air, the greatness of kingdom paradise, the end of the periods, the beginning of the day of judgment, the number of offerings, the worlds which have not yet come, the mouth of hell, the standing place of vengeance, the place of faith, the region of hope, the picture of the coming punishment, the multitude of the Malachim which cannot be counted, the powers of the flame, the splendor of lightnings, the voice of the thunders, the order of the chief Malachi, the treasure of the light, and the changing of the times, and the inquiries into the Torah. These are the fourth bright waters you have seen. Fire out of his mouth, smoke out of his nostrils. And it will happen that after he has brought down everything which is in the world and has sat down in eternal shalom on the throne of the kingdom, and then joy will be revealed and rest will appear. And then health will descend in dew, and illness will vanish, and fear and tribulation and lamentation will pass away from among men, and joy will encompass the earth. And nobody will again die untimely, for nor will any adversary, any adversity, shalat, take place suddenly. Unjust judgment, condemnations, contentions, revenges, blood, passion, zeal, hate, and all such things will go into condemnation, since they will be uprooted. For these are the things that have filled this earth with evils, and because of them, life of men came in yet greater confusion. And the wild beast will come from the wood and serve men, and the asps and the dragons. And the dragons. What? Dragons don't exist. Second Baruch 73 say they're gonna come out their holes to subject themselves to a child. So once again, you have power over all wild beasts, and especially over your dracons. Right there in the script. Of course, they took this out of your Sunday Bible. They don't want you to know that dragons are returning. They want you to think about the dragon in Revelation, right? Evil, Satan, da-da-da. Even old Leviathan, even old Levi, who was sacrificed in Psalm 74 as meat for the righteous in the wilderness. Even he becomes Satan to the Christian. They're not telling you that the dragon is subjecting himself to the child. What child? The children. And afterwards shall the children of Israel return. When you return, Managa, when you KTC, seek HaWah and David, Dawi. Part of that trembling, that humility you feel when you get your greatness back, that's the mourning that you're going through, because that's the only point that you realize how much you really lost, how much deception, how much of that ruach, tardema, that spell, that slumber, that staggering. But you ain't staggering no more. Nah. Nah, because even the one that is staggering, man, even the feeble shall be as David, in the house of David as HaWah. Fire out your mouth. Smoke out your nose. Even the dragons will come out of their holes. Wormholes. Vortexes. Let's go. To submit themselves, my naga, to the children. And our aquas will no longer have pain when they bear, nor will they be tormented when they yield the fruit of the womb. It's the return of the dragon. It's the return of the healing dew. Because Israel has returned. The child, the children, the dragons come out their holes to subject themselves to the children. The children that are now as HaWah. The child, the children of Israel, return, seek the Creator and David in the end of days. Yeah, I mean, it seems like they are popping off with a Terminator event. Same event that turns you as HaWah. Magnifying you, my noggin, popping you off. The real Ramani. The pomegranate in the land of Israel. Halal HaWah. I look forward to the transformation. I look forward to seeing my dragons again. You know, I look forward to all the unjust judgments and condemnations and contentions, all that stuff being uprooted and nobody dying untimely. I look forward to that, my night. Don't you? We popping off again. All praise HaWah. Y'all make sure this week is better than the last one, man. Keep getting better. You got somebody over here rooting for you. You got a whole tribe rooting for you. Keep popping off and the drop chatter, chatter. That's where we at. Hey, out to my, true, Zon ones, out here to get this true Zon, this true weapon, this KTC. Only through KTC can we magnify. You choose termination. You choose to be magnified in splendor or magnetized, in dog-headedness, man. You choose the greatness of yourself or you choose the worst. Either way, you choose up or you take a dive, my noggin. This is a choice you got to make. We choose up around here because we here. And we ain't going nowhere because the dragons have returned because you have returned. Yeah, don't be surprised and don't fall into their fear spell. Don't be afraid of nothing because you in the code. All praise to HaWah. Let's keep popping off for our Creator.